Hey guys, this is an exciting day. This is an important day, an important time in life, just in general, but also a very important time in my life. I am starting the artist's way, and I'm so excited about it. So I want to document this experience with everyone and share it and express and be creative. Um, yeah, pretty much I've had this book on my book wish list for a while now. And actually a few weeks ago, I ended up purchasing it on Kindle. I didn't really think anything of it. I'm kind of backlogged on books that I'm reading, so I was planning on reading it. And then essentially, I ended up watching Dochi's videos of her doing the artist's way and doing the 12-week creative rehab course. And I was just so inspired and so moved, and I just love her so much. And just her process of going through this and veiling her creativity, she's so raw and real and just really taking us through the movements of this process. And my gosh, it inspired the hell out of me. Thank you, Dochi. So I'm really excited about this. I feel like for a while I think I really need this. I feel like for a while this has been kind of calling to me without me realizing it, if that makes any sense. At the beginning of the year, one of my goals was to write for 15 minutes every day, every morning, ideally. So I was working on incorporating that into like my daily routines and my morning routines. And I wasn't being as consistent as I would have liked, but I was writing more often than I would in the past. And similarly, I also gave myself the goal to go on more friend dates, which in the past I've followed a 4 dates for a happy life or 4 dates to become your soulmate kind of a rule that I might actually create a video on later and share with you guys. But I'd put in the intention to go on more dates, not just with like my partner, but with friends, with myself, with other people. And it's just really funny to me how this book has entered my life and the synchronicities of what this book, the philosophies of what it promotes and the tactics of promoting creativity, how I was already kind of making efforts to do those things. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. It feels very kismet. It feels like this entered my life at just the right opportunity. Because why I'm doing this is like in my career, quote unquote career, I've been feeling a lot of frustration, stagnation, feeling like maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe I'm not putting my eggs in the right basket, so to speak. I got my degree in marketing, and I've been working in marketing for the past 7 years. And it's really interesting to reflect on this sensation that I've been having that God or some type of higher consciousness or the forces of the universe, not that they don't want me to go down the marketing path, but they are making it very clear that it isn't a path that's fueled by their intention. And I know that. For me, specifically, I can feel it within me because marketing was something that I chose as a safety net. It was something that I chose because I knew it paid really well. I knew at the time when I was going through my degree, I wanted to get my degree and I wanted to get it in something. But my whole life, I really have wanted to be a creative. I've always wanted to express my creativity, and there have been a lot of points in my life where I've stopped myself, where I've stifled my own creativity. And I think when you're younger, it's easy for that to happen when you're a lot younger, because you don't know any different, right? When you hear other people's limiting voices, or even your own limiting voices, which I know is a big part of this, what did she call it? She said discovery, creative recovery, not rehab, but creative recovery. It's about dissecting that inner critic, or yeah, I'll get into what she goes into, but essentially I just feel like it's time. I just really feel like it's time for me to move forward in my creativity. It feels like the road has ended with this alternate reality of me working in marketing and going down more of a corporate path. It feels like it's the end of the road for me on it. It feels like I'm going around in circles in a cul-de-sac and I'm not getting anywhere. And yeah, that feeling of God is not necessarily flowing through me in those moments as much as I know it can. And I think one of the biggest helpful realizations for that was when I became a yoga teacher last year. And I've been a yoga teacher now, and it really ignited, gosh, such a huge passion within me, this huge passion, this expression, this creative expression, a love for teaching, a love for just physically moving my body, a love for sharing and expressing. And teaching yoga has made all the difference in my life. And I just realized, this path of creativity is the path that I want to go down. And more so, I feel like it is the road I'm supposed to go down. I feel like it's the road that God, the higher power, creative essence is leading me down. And so, yeah, I'm just so ready for this book and this 12-week intensive course to go down there, to like release those blockages, to just go forth in creation and honor myself as creativity and as creation and as universe essence itself. So yeah, some of the things that I hope to get out of this course is just a path forward. I want to move forward. I feel like I'm on, like I said, like I'm in a cul-de-sac and I'm just running around in circles, and I just want to pave a new way forward, even if that means grabbing a machete and hacking myself. I want to freely express my creativity. There are so many things that I want to do that through these YouTube videos. I'd love to make more YouTube videos. And I started doing it a couple years ago. This is my first one for a few years. And yeah, I want to do more of that. And I feel like there's this part of me that's stopping myself. So I want to release that part of me and honor myself as a conduit for the universe to flow through me, and for me to express that. We absorb a lot, we consume a lot in society, and I'd like to be a channel that also releases and that expresses through myself, and to break the dam open, so to speak, release the river. So I want to do these videos every week, just like Dochi, my queen, my idol, my icon. And I'm just going to kind of go through some of the things that I highlighted throughout this and what resonated with me, and share some of my insights. And yeah, let's do this. So the first thing that I really appreciated about this, and I think the first thing that inspired me to even want to put this book in my book list, was the approach to spiritual creativity. You know, Julia, she uses the term God throughout this book. She uses the term God, and I know a lot of people have stigmas against that word. And I feel very grateful that even though I went through Catholic school, I don't have like an aversion to the term God. And that's really just because I associate it so much more than like a religious theology or a religious doctrine. It means a lot more to me, which I 100% agree with her in terms of what she expressed. One of the things that I really liked that she wrote was, you know, don't allow semantics to become one more block for you. And I just love that, because sometimes we hear a word like God or any other word really, and we instantly tie an association to a word that blocks us. And I just love that she says that early on, because this is about releasing blockages. This is about expressing. And yeah, I just absolutely love that. Some of the other things that I highlighted was, she says, no matter what your age or your life path, whether making art is your career or your hobby or your dream, it's not too late or too egotistical or too selfish or too silly to work on your creativity. Julia. And that's the truth. I think sometimes we think creativity is a luxury that only young age and adolescents can afford, and sometimes people lose touch of their creativity as time goes on, or they have all these different thoughts and blockages that prevent them from expressing creativity. Lord knows I have, and that's why we're doing this. So I just love that she puts that on there. Yeah. When she goes on to actually compare these exercises and this process to yoga, which of course really resonated with me. She says, just as doing hatha yoga stretches alters consciousness, when all you're doing is stretching, doing the exercises in this book alters consciousness, when all you're doing is writing and playing. I mean, yes, Queen. Know your audience. It's me. Yeah. She goes on to talk about some things that really hit home to me in terms of, I think, a lot of philosophies that people have regarding their own creativity. And she talks about her own personal story, which I really appreciate, because sometimes I wrestle with when it's time to share my personal story. I think if we were to rewind, there were times when I was lost in my personal story, when my story was all that I was, and I wasn't able to step outside the story and view it objectively, and I didn't tap into the larger part of myself that separated me from the story. And so throughout the years, I've kind of diminished the story to the point where I felt like, well, I don't want to share my story because I am not my story. The greater message of what I'm trying to convey is more important than my story. But within the more recent months and years, I've been realizing and reflecting, no, like this story is, even each of our stories, even each of our life experiences are life itself creating. It's life itself creating and expressing through us in all these interesting ways that someone might relate to, but they don't necessarily have the same exact experience. But hearing other people's stories, like I've heard other people's stories, has also been a vehicle for change, for understanding, it's a vehicle for the greater message. And so I was just really appreciative of her for sharing her personal story and her personal journey to fuel this message. So yeah, that's something that I really resonate with. And she pretty much talked about her journey getting sober and how before she had this very tumultuous relationship with her creativity where it was, she says, let me put it this way. She says, by the time I was 30 and abruptly sober, I had an office in the Paramount lot and had made a whole career out of that kind of creative, I'd made a whole career out of that kind of creativity. Creativity in spasms. Creativity as an act of will and ego. Creative on behalf of others. Creative, yes, but in spurts, like blood from a severed corroded, like blood from a severed corroded artery. She pretty much writes about something that I think is a trope, the artist trope, that you have to suffer for your art and you have to follow these very grand whims of inspiration, and only if you have these erratic highs followed by very tumultuous low lows are you a true artist. And I've definitely held that viewpoint in the past, and I've thought of my emotional upswings and downswings as the artist path, the artist journey. And I just love how she says, writing became more like eavesdropping and less like inventing a nuclear bomb. It wasn't so tricky and it didn't blow up on me anymore. When referring to her taking on the practice of doing these morning pages, and instead of waiting to be in the mood to write or waiting for these creative inspirations to fuel her writing, she made it a practice and made it something that was a regular flow through her. And it removed the drama. It removed the erraticism out of that, which has been, gosh, my focus in life recently and just throughout my entire life. I think I reached a point personally where I was like, I am tired of this roller coaster. Like, I am getting off this roller coaster and I just want some stability. I want to catch my feet. So yeah, really appreciated that. She talks about the idea that creativity could be sane and sober, which I think for a lot of people who also have addiction, like she had acknowledged or honored or has written about when it came to her own sobriety, you know, there's a lot of all or nothing extremities that can be very much in tandem with addiction, for lack of a better word, or I don't know if I'm explaining that properly. There's like a lot of all or nothing philosophies that align a lot of times with an addictive behavior or an addictive mentality. So I just really love that. And I myself have felt that strain where I was like, I'm not really invested in something unless I'm, you know, making it everything I eat, breathe, shit, and do. Like, it's just really funny. So I enjoy her talking about this very sane, calm, collected, routine, habitized practice to creativity. She goes on to talk about following her own marching orders, the divine essence within her telling her it was time to teach, and how she started doing classes and lectures and eventually wrote everything down into this book. And I just love that. I loved that. Yeah, a few more things she does is she just goes on to talk about the spirit of creativity and how we are essentially, it wasn't something that was written by her specifically. It was in one of the quotes in the ledger that I really resonate with, this idea that we are just channels for creativity. Creation, God essence is creation, is artistry. It is, we are constantly viewing and experiencing the unfolding of creativity in every moment and every day, in big and small ways. And yeah, she just talks about this kind of channel and how you can go on to experience synchronicities throughout the course of this course. Throughout the course here. She says we change and the universe furthers and expands that change. Leap and the net will appear. One of my favorite things, she has the basic principles of creativity written down, and the first one is, of course, creativity is the natural order of life. Life is energy, pure creative energy. And my favorite principle is the last one, which I've highlighted, and it says, our creative dreams and yearnings come from a divine source. And as we move toward our dreams, we move toward our divinity. And I think that perfectly encapsulates the energy of why I'm doing this, is because I feel so strongly. I feel this yearning within me to create. And I know that it's my ultimate purpose, and not purpose from the lens of being a functional human in society and like having a job or whatever, but my purpose in terms of dharma, in terms of what I can give back to this world. And honoring my creativity is me honoring my divinity. And I'd like to do that more frequently and stronger. So pretty much when she's kind of talking about how to use this book, just in this intro and the basic principles, I'm interpreting it as trust the process. She kind of, for lack of a better word, like warns you. She's like, some shit's gonna come up. You're gonna have to deal with it. It's gonna be okay. And personally, I'm like, let's go. Let's fucking go. I'm so ready. I'm just ready to like let it all bubble up, to let it air out. You know, I feel like these emotions, these blockages that we experience, they're kind of like farts. Sorry, like they're kind of like farts. Like they bubble up within you and you don't even necessarily know that you have it until it needs to be released. And it sucks. Like even the experience of releasing blockages, it doesn't feel good when it's happening. Like as the blockage is being released, it smells. It's like, it's a fart. Like it smells. It's like, oh my God. It isn't until after the air clears and after, oh gosh, you restabilize and acclimate to your new way of being, that it feels natural and it feels good. And you're like, whoa, I had this huge block I didn't even know I had. And then it's out. So essentially, I'm just anticipating a lot of farty moments of releasing these blocks and letting them air out. And she does a good job at prefacing and warning. Yeah, she just talks about, there's a part where which I already resonated with just reading this, and we haven't even gotten into that week yet, but she pretty much just talks about, one of the things she says is, we begin to excavate our buried dreams. We mourn the self that we abandoned. And I just know, like, when we get to that week, it's going to be an intense week because I feel that so deeply within me, a sense of abandonment to my creative self. And, that's a relationship we're mending. Makes me emotional just thinking about it now. I want to cry. Like, that's a relationship I want to mend. And I want these morning pages and the artist date to do that. And I know that that's the intention behind this, right? She talks about some of the tools that we're going to use, the morning pages, just the opportunity to creatively express with no judgment, without allowing your censor to get involved. And my gosh, I always thought I had like such a strong censor. I mean, it's a combination of things, but I was like, oh, it's because my censor is so strong because I'm a Virgo, because whatever mother wounds, like towards criticism for me. I'm like, oh gosh. And I never really thought of my own inner censor also as a reflection of my creativity. And that puts a different spin on it for me, because I always thought of my inner critic really as a byproduct of my life story, experiences, and whatnot, but I never thought about it as a symptom is not a right word, but I never thought of it. I never thought of my inner critic as something that was in tandem with my creativity, and her expressing that she calls it the censor. Her expressing that, these artists, as artists, we have this censor that we learn. Yeah, it just really resonated with me, and the morning pages and whatnot. I've already started the morning pages officially as morning pages. Like I said, I'd been making a habit of writing for 15 minutes every day. I wasn't very consistent with it, but for the past few days, I've been writing every morning, 3 pages. I set up a new routine in my morning to do that. And I'm really excited to go on the artist date. I'm very familiar with dating myself. So I'm just like, yes, say less. I'm going to take myself out on a date. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to start that on Saturday. I'm going to do it. And pretty much I've already started. We're on week 0. She talks about creating routines, which I'm such a big fan of. So my weeks are going to start from Sunday to Sunday, and I'm getting a little head start here just for week 0, but I already know every day I'm going to be doing my morning pages. I'm also going to be filling out. I'm going to try and do all of her exercises. But you know what? We'll see. Like she says, do the items that call to you and do the ones that you resist most. But I'm going to try and really give this my all. For the next 12 weeks, I'm going to give this everything. Not that I won't be able to do this again in the future, because I love Elizabeth Gilbert, and I love that in the back of this rendition, she pretty much says that she's done the Artist's Way, like this course, this program, 3 times in the past 10 years. And without it, there wouldn't be Eat, Pray, Love, which is just so great. Such an icon, Elizabeth. So yeah, like I lost my train of thought, but pretty much I'm really excited. We already started. We're already going. Tomorrow Saturday, I'm going to take myself out on a date. I'll film my recap next week of how that went. We'll go through, you know, this course together and see how it's going. I do want to read the contract that we have written for ourselves and officially seal this bad boy and get her started. So I've written it down in my own writing, my own piece of paper. All right. I, Cassandra Appleby, understand that I am undertaking an intensive guided encounter with my own creativity. I commit myself to the 12-week duration of the course. I, Cassandra Appleby, commit to weekly reading, daily morning pages, a weekly artist date, and the fulfillment of each week's tasks. I, Cassandra Appleby, further understand that this course will raise issues and emotions for me to deal with. I, Cassandra Appleby, commit myself to excellent self-care, adequate sleep, diet, exercise, and pampering for the duration of this course. And it is signed Cassandra Appleby, March 7th, 2025. Yeah. All right. So, something I'm going to do that Dochi did, love you, Dochi, was she read the intro for the next week. So that's what we're going to do every week. All right. So next week we're doing week 1. This week initiates your creative recovery. You may feel both giddy and defiant, hopeful and skeptical. The readings, tasks, and exercises aim at allowing you to establish a sense of safety, which will enable you to explore your creativity with less fear. Okay. Okay. I'm ready. What can I say? All right. See you next week.